Hey guys, today we're stepping aboard a US Navy submarine, the kind that disappears beneath the waves for weeks at a time, out of sight, out of mind, and sometimes nearly out of luck. You're about to squeeze yourself into a narrow steel tube called the USS Bonefish, SS-582, a diesel-electric submarine designed during the Cold War, but still grinding through missions into the late 80s. The year, 1988. The ocean, warm and strangely calm off the coast of Florida. You're here for just another patrol, and the crew seems chill enough. But here's your warning shot. You bring your second shotting base to death. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and the local time in the comments, especially if you're listening from a place with more cornfields than coastline. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into today's journey together. You step through the hatch, your boots clanging against steel. It's tight, like hope you skipped breakfast tight. Everything smells like a mix of metal, coffee, and something weirdly sweet. Maybe machine oil, or maybe just the guy bunking below you's cologne habit. You're barely inside before someone shoves a headset at you, motions toward the engine room, and tells you the drill starts in 10 minutes. That's the thing about subs, there's no easing in. 1 minute you're topside, blinking at the sun, and the next, you're 200 feet below sea level, surrounded by noise, blinking red lights, and people who haven't seen daylight in days. And the Bonefish? She's no sleek, new Virginia-class hotshot. She's diesel-electric, which means the engine runs loud and hot, and you're always one battery hiccup away from learning how long you can hold your breath. The drill begins. Simulated emergency, nothing new. You're crouched near the switchboard when the first puff of black smoke curls out from behind a control panel. One of the electricians makes a face like, that wasn't the script. Before anyone can say a word, there's a pop. Not a boom, not yet, just a soft pop, like someone stepped on a soda can. Then the lights flicker. You try to radio the control room, but all you get is static. Smoke thickens fast, like someone flipped on a fog machine from a horror film. Except this fog stings. Your throat burns. The emergency drill has just become very, very real. The fire started near one of the diesel engine cables. At first, it seems containable. But then it snakes its way through the after engine room like it's got a personal vendetta. The insulation, flammable. The ventilation, not helping. Within minutes, systems begin to cascade offline. A few sailors try to seal the fire off from the next compartment. That's standard protocol. What's not standard? The flames leap through a bulkhead seam like they were waiting for an invite. Now the temperature's climbing, fast. The fire's so intense that water sprayed on it flashes into steam before it can touch the flames. Someone shouts about pressure rising in the battery compartment. You don't know what that means, but your gut does. Your gut knows it's time to move. Here's the historical fact of the day. Bonefish was the last diesel-electric submarine in active US Navy service at the time. A Cold War relic, patched and retrofitted for survival in a world that had mostly moved on. Think of it as sending your granddad to a Formula One race. Brave, sure, but not exactly built for the current level of chaos. You scramble to the forward compartment. A sailor hands you an oxygen mask, but the canister attached is warm, too warm. That's not good. Heat means the fire is licking this area too. You put the mask on anyway. It smells like rubber and sweat. Here comes your quirky fact. Submarines sometimes call this kind of emergency a hot run. though usually that refers to torpedoes. In your case, it's your lungs doing the hot run, literally. You crawl past someone who's yelling into a busted phone line like it owes him money. The communication system is failing. So is the backup. Oh, and the lights? They're finally gone, plunging you into the kind of dark where your own hand looks like a ruler. The captain, up in control, is shouting orders. You can't hear him, but the way people start moving means it's abandoned ship time. Which would be fine, except there are nearly 90 of you, and only a handful of hatches, some already sealed, off by fire. Here's a hotly debated bit. Historians still argue whether the Bonefish's systems were up to code, or whether years of patchwork repairs and budget compromises left her vulnerable. Some say the fire spread too fast for any modern system to have handled. Others claim the Bonefish was already a tinderbox with a propeller. You finally make it to the escape trunk. It's tiny, like an upright coffin. One sailor ahead of you starts panicking, banging on the hatch. Another calms him down with a joke, something about missing taco night topside. You laugh too. Nervous habit. Then, a hiss. The hatch wheel turns. Fresh air, or what passes for it, rushes in. You climb through, blink in the sudden sunlight, and squint at a rescue boat circling like a curious shark. Only 89 crew members made it aboard. 3 didn't. Their bodies were later recovered in the aft section, where the fire burned hottest. You sit, wrapped in a thermal blanket that smells like old plastic and seawater. You're shaking, but you don't know if it's from the cold or the adrenaline. Probably both. A medic asks your name. You pause. For a second, you forget. The Bonefish floats behind you, blackened in places, her silent hull steaming under the sun. It's not clear if she'll sink or be towed, but you know one thing for sure: you're not going back in. You don't sleep that night. Nobody does. You lie on a canvas stretcher aboard the rescue vessel, listening to the hum of the engines and the soft whisper of Get. Waves against the hull, but your mind's still stuck somewhere in that smoke-filled corridor, inches from panic and fire. Every time you close your eyes, the darkness folds in just a little too thick, a little too warm. Your ears ring. Your palms itch. Your body remembers more than it wants to. At sunrise, they ferry you and the others back to shore. Not all at once. There aren't enough boats. Everything's a mess. Navy brass are waiting with clipboards and pressed uniforms that don't smell like burning plastic. They ask you 100 versions of the same question. What happened down there? You try to explain the smoke, the heat, the way the emergency lights gave out just before you hit the trunk, but words don't do it justice. It was chaos, and no one likes to write chaos on a formal incident report. The press starts sniffing around. Electrical fire, they call it. Engine room malfunction. But inside the sub, what you experienced wasn't just a fire. It was survival on a knife's edge, with every inch of steel threatening to become your coffin. Flashback to 10 hours earlier, when the fire first took hold. You were crawling through the auxiliary machinery space, basically a metal jungle gym of pipes, valves, and angry-looking dials. Steam began to hiss from one of the lines above your head, scalding hot, under pressure, and definitely not part of the drill. You duck just in time, heart pounding like a drum solo. One of the junior crew members behind you didn't duck fast enough. You never even learned his name. All you remember is the sharp yelp and the sickening smell of burnt fabric. It's pitch black now. The emergency lighting, those dim reddish bulbs, lasted about 3 minutes before dying completely. That left you with your flashlight. Good thing it was clipped to your collar. Bad thing, the beam is weak and flickers like it's powered by regret. You push forward, belly on the deck, feeling the heat seep into your elbows. Metal warps when it's hot enough, and some of the floor plating has already begun to buckle. In one corner, the paint is bubbling off the wall like skin in the sun. You have to crawl over it. It sticks to your palms. You try not to think about what that smell reminds you of. Then comes the flooding. See, as a fire containment measure, the engineering crew activates the seawater spray system in an attempt to cool the area. It's a desperate move, like trying to fix a leaky faucet with a fire hose, but it's all they've got. It buys you time and fills the aft compartments with several inches of standing water. Now, imagine you're crawling blind through a sauna while sloshing through warm, ankle-deep water. Every surface is a potential burn. Every movement echoes strangely, muffled by the insulation and the water. Your flashlight dies. Again. Because of course it does. Here's your weird submarine trivia break. Submariners used to joke that seawater inside the boat was just bonus ballast. Not so funny now that your boots are full of it, and you're half convinced there's an eel watching you from the drain grates. You finally make it to the forward battery compartment. Still seared off, thank God. A couple sailors are huddled there, wrapped in fire-retardant blankets, sharing a single oxygen tank, like a couple on a first date with really bad timing. You join them. No one speaks for a long time. You just breathe. Slow, shallow gulps through the mask, while your heart tries to remember a normal rhythm. Somewhere above, you hear the captain's voice. Muffled, crackling. He's ordering the escape hatches prepped. The main one is already compromised. Smoke and heat made that route impossible. That leaves the forward escape trunk and the sail hatch up top, which is as easy to reach as climbing a burning fire escape during a hurricane. You go for the trunk. It's vertical, narrow, and smells like hydraulic fluid and feet. You climb it with everything you've got left. 1 rung, 2, 3. Your muscles are pudding. Your lungs shrunk to raisins. You stop thinking. You just climb. At the top, someone hauls you out like a sack of potatoes. You collapse onto the deck of the USS Car, one of the rescue ships, and try not to kiss the non-burning floor. Of the 89 crew, 23 had to be evacuated directly from the sail hatch, exposed on the top of the submarine, while flames still flickered below. Risky doesn't even begin to cover it. The sea was calm, but no rescue is ever routine when you're dealing with black. Smoke, scalding steel, and men crawling out of what looks like a dying whale. Now, here's a spicy historical fact. The USS Bonefish had recently undergone maintenance at Charleston Naval Shipyard. The work included rewiring major systems, including the very area where the fire originated. That's why historians still argue whether it was shoddy post-maintenance work, overlooked insulation damage, or simple bad luck that turned a standard drill into a death trap. The Navy eventually decides that Bonefish isn't worth saving. She's towed back, stripped of anything useful, and officially decommissioned that September, just a few months after the fire. No ceremony, no glory. Just a name quietly erased from active duty. But the impact isn't so easily erased. After the incident, safety protocols on diesel subs, what few remained, were reviewed and overhauled. Emergency training got more intense. Some sailors from that day never returned to service. A few stayed in, quietly, because that's what submariners do. You endure, or you don't. Weeks later, you receive a certificate in the mail. It says, "Commendation for bravery," or something equally official sounding. You put it in a drawer and never look at it again. What do you say when someone asks where it came from? "Oh, I just escaped a flaming steel death tube under the ocean." NBD. You still remember the 3 who didn't make it. Engineman First Class Lawrence Riley, Engineman Second Class Mark A. Sokol, Machinist's Mate Third Class Kenneth R. Loss. Their names don't get shouted much, but you remember. You all do. You're back on land now, but your legs still sway like a deck is rocking. You stand in the chow line at base, and someone hands you a tray like nothing's changed. Only everything has changed. The people around you are quieter now. Some don't eat much. Others joke more than usual, like they're trying to outlaw the memory of being inches from a fire that nearly cooked him alive. You dream about the boat most nights. In one version, you're trapped in the engine room again, pounding on a sealed hatch while fire creeps through the seams. In another, you're crawling through the escape trunk, only to find it leads back into the sub. Every door just loops. Smoke, heat. Repeat. One time, you even dream you're the Bonefish herself. Your hull creaking, pressure rising, lights dying one by one until you're alone in the deep. The Navy launches an official investigation. Big surprise. The final report, cold, clinical, precise, says the fire started when seawater hit an electrical bus in the main propulsion system. Arcing, overheating, sparks. Then the insulation ignited. That part you already knew because you smelled it. The report includes diagrams and failure flowcharts. Little boxes with arrows showing exactly where things went wrong. What it doesn't show, the look in the eyes of the kid who tried to crawl back through the heat to find his bunkmate, or the way a grown man whimpered when the lights died. Just once, like he was 5 again, and afraid of the dark. But here's the kicker in the open wound. Historians still argue whether the sub should have been decommissioned long before 1988. Some say she was outdated, a Cold War antique duct-taped into modern service. Others argue she was seaworthy, just unlucky. Depends on who you ask. Depends on whether you made it out. You get assigned to shore duty after that. Paperwork. Nothing sexy. Just forms and files and long, quiet afternoons. It's fine. You still hear the alarms in your ear sometimes, though, especially when someone microwaves popcorn. Meanwhile, the Bonefish is stripped bare, left a skeleton of herself. No more missions, no more dives, just rust. Her conning tower gets removed and turned into a memorial in South Carolina. The rest is scrapped. You visit that conning tower once. It's smaller than you remember, cleaner. It sits in a quiet park, surrounded by trees and walking paths. No smoke, no screams. Just tourists and squirrels. You run your hand along the cool metal, and it hums back memories you didn't ask for. Somewhere nearby, a plaque lists the names of the lost. People walk by it like it's just another monument. But not you. You sit there for a while, not saying anything. Just being. Because you were there. Let's dial it back for a moment. Here's a light tidbit you probably didn't expect. Before the fire, Bonefish had a running bet on board. $20 to anyone who would make it through a full deployment. Without once asking, how much longer? No one ever won, not even close. You chuckle when you think of that now. Maybe because it was ridiculous. Or maybe because you remember the guy who made the bet. He's still out there, got a desk job at POW. Says he never wants to see another sub-hatch again, unless it leads to a vending machine. There's a strange bond between submariners. You don't even have to like each other. But you've smelled the same engine oil, eaten the same flavorless meatloaf at 2 a.m., shared the same stale air recycled a dozen times too many. That makes you family. And when one of you doesn't come back, everyone feels it. Like a deck plate buckling under your boots. In the years that follow, they update safety systems. Training gets tougher. Escape drills go from boring box checkers to high-stress sprints. Nobody shrugs through them anymore. Not after Bonefish. One young sailor pulls you aside during a training session. She's just joined the force. Asks if it's true, if there was really a fire down there that killed people. You nod. She asks if you were scared. You think about lying. Instead, you say, yes, I was terrified, but I didn't stop moving. That's all you can do. And maybe that's the legacy of the Bonefish. Not the ship itself, or the wires that failed, or the insulation that turned into an inferno, but the crew. The 89 people who made it out because they crawled, climbed, pushed, and refused to die. And the 3 who stayed behind, not because they wanted to, but because the fire moved faster than courage. You never stop carrying that day with you. It shows up in quiet moments, in the smell of burning toast, in the flicker of a light bulb, in the stillness before a storm. And yet, you're still here. Now, let's let the pressure out slowly. Take a breath. Let it roll in smooth and gentle, like the tide over a moonlit beach. The story's ended, but its echo lingers. Not loud or jarring, just soft, like the hush of waves against the hull of a ship long since retired. You're no longer crawling through smoke or whispering in a sealed compartment. You're lying down, safe, surrounded by air that's clean, cool, and still. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Picture the Bonefish, not in fire and chaos, but in her quiet days, gliding beneath the waves, unseen but steady, every bolt and bracket holding strong against the weight of the ocean. You can almost hear her now, humming a low mechanical lullaby, the kind that only submariners really understand. Let that hum soften your thoughts. Let the noise fade. No alarms, no running, just the rhythm of your own breath, easy and slow. And remember, beneath every storm is calm, and under every deep, dark sea, there's a surface waiting to be reached again. Sleep well, friend. You've made it through the fire. The rest is silence. End of script. Great today.